Josie, you were talking about personal brand. What does personal brand mean to you?
See, I think it's just it is a personal thing that right now I am separating personal. I am not a brand right now. I am very, very personal. It is my private life. It's private. And I don't want that seen as a brand or seen that I'm trying to be a brand.
Do you think people differentiate?
Yeah,
Really?
I do think so.
Okay.
I think a lot of people use social media as a tool to brand themselves personally, to further themselves in their career.
Okay.
But if I think about, and maybe I'm wrong completely, but if I think about some of my friends who are stay-at-home moms, they use, it is a personal brand, but they use that there is no intention. I think that's maybe what it is for me, is what is your intention behind it?
Okay.
For them, they're just communicating to family overseas, or I'm communicating very selectively about what I want to people that are on my Facebook, but I'm not putting consistent messages out there to further myself.
So let me ask you like this. When you were in your previous job and you met up with people in the industry and they say to you, are you on Twitter? Do you think that then they went and looked for you on Twitter and started following you and interacting with you?
Some did.
There's a reason I'm asking that question.
Yeah, some did.
Okay. Anyone else? Personal brand?
Well, I think in the process of doing all social media, are you either communicating yourself as an active social person or a nerd or an active sporty person, and that in itself is a brand.
A representation of
You're
self.
representing your character.
Yeah.
So if you're climbing Table Mountain, you're going to take a photo of it which makes you a sporty person, which gives everyone the assumption that you are fit and healthy, which not that we are, but
That's exactly it. You are a brand. Whether you like it or not, if you're in social media, it's out there. You are in the public facing. It doesn't matter how many security settings you put on. It just takes one person who's in that circle to share something, and it's out there. And I'm going to show you how badly it can go in a moment.
just with that, I think like a few years ago, probably decades ago, it would have been considered as a personality. But as
Yes.
things develop, it's now become a brand.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's actually a very good point. It used to be your personality, but now it is your brand. It's your personal brand. Unfortunately, or I suppose fortunately, things have changed so drastically that we need to learn to adapt. Okay. There's a false belief that there's a disconnection between social and real life. And what I mean by that is, like we were saying now, that you think that it's your personal account, you say your views are your own, and it doesn't matter if you've got that opinion as my own in your bio. If someone is searching for a topic and your name comes up in the thread, they will go through your timeline and they will view however personally they want to view your tweets and change it to mean something that they want it to mean. Whether you meant it like that or not, that's what's going to happen. Once it's out in the social media sphere, it's out for the world to see.
Do you know what I meant earlier? It was like separating the two.
Yeah.
It's more about the voice for me.
No, but we all love to do that. But that's why.
Yeah. It's like in your personal one, as a mom or as a whatever, I can talk about whatever I want, not in terms of negativity, but I don't have to be as consistent. Today I can be talking about baking, tomorrow I can be talking about rock music, the next day I can be talking about getting a tattoo. But if I'm a Ford brand, I'm going to try to be a lot more focused. That's kind of what I was trying to say.
Okay, no, but that is a valid point. So those three that you said now about the different topics you could tweet about.
Yeah.
The baking, then the rock music, and then the tattoo. What personal brand would you then be building out of that? I mean, how would people see you? And I'm not saying that you need to, just like you need to like be aware of your personal brand.
Very, very aware that whatever you post online stays online for people to see forever.
But then people, your
got
time
to
would be
know
like,
that.
she's a really cool mom, right? Because you're staying at home baking, but you're going to rock concerts and you've got a tattoo. So you're a new age, kind of trendy, hip, stay-at-home mom, right? That's your personal brand. That's what people who don't know you have seen. And that's what they've learned about you.
Perception.
perception.
It is. It's all about
I
perception.
think also, I think why people get confused, not think that the two are separate, like a personal brand and a company brand, is with a company creating that brand, you are making it up. Where as a person, you are just who you are. So you're not going to share that thinking, does this represent who I am? You're just going to share it because you like the picture or like the post. Where with a company, if you forward, you're going to be like, okay, I've got to be careful about. I've got to think about this. Is it consistent with what
But
I
I
am?
think even so, like as an individual, you're still quite selective about what you post. You're not going to post yourself like looking.
I think it's
awful,
changed.
wanting
I
to
think it's changed.
extent.
People didn't.
Mm.
A few years back, we didn't think about the consequences of social media. And it's at a point now where the press club are actually going, should people be like legally accountable for the statements that they make on social media?
Mm.
Because it's gotten to that point. I mean, you can say something about someone, no one does the research. 10 million people retweet it. The person's whole life is turned upside down with what proof? And you can come back and say this is the truth. I'll show you now with Pick and Pay. Let me tell you, the apology tweet they put out didn't even reach the community that the bad tweet did.
But isn't there some laws like against like what Jack Harry did? Because he's like, okay, I don't know if you get that for brands, but I'm sure you do with defamation of character. You like.
Well, no, because he was stating the facts. He got chased off stage. That was it.
True.
He got chased off stage.
Was it in, just out of interest, was it in his contract to, was it a verbal or a
That is
agreement?
details that I don't know because we didn't put the event together. It was for a dealer event, so we didn't even know that the event was happening.
Who chose him as an artist?
I couldn't tell you. The events company. We didn't go into any of those specifics. We wanted to know.
What were they thinking?
We wanted to know what happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what we asked, but like I said, we weren't involved in that process, and we just wanted the facts. What happened? Why did it happen? How did it happen? How are we gonna try and kind of get our reputation back?
I think, like, you know what is a really good example of exactly what you say, and I totally understand, is Justine Sacco.
She's in the presentation. We're going on to her next. I'm glad you
don't
know
want
who she
to-
is.
yeah, no.
She's in the presentation, and that's why I'm like personal brand. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Your personal brand, you have to be aware. You can't just post anything.
You have to be so careful. And I've seen it happen to so many people. They get on social media and they vent. They vent at brands. They vent at people. It's so dangerous. And what people don't think is, we'll get into that now actually. Let me know
Dr. Phil did like a whole show on that
With
a couple
that.
years ago. Do you remember that?
Oh, I should actually get that and put that into the presentation.
It was
so-
done a couple of years ago, and I think that's the first moment where I went, oh,
Yeah.
what
It's
what
bad.
And what did you say?
We're gonna go into Justina and I feel for her. Like I would not want to be in her
A
position.
mate of mine, I had taken a photo of him in like a girl's bikini, and he said, please don't post it because my boss will see it, people will see it, my students will see it. And I was like, come on, what are you talking about? And then I watched the Dr. Phil show about how your personal stuff gets out there and it's out there forever, and employers use that to search who you are. And I was like,
That's funny because it's one of the points
and
that I got on
tag
here
him,
as well.
take down the photo. I'm like, no, dude, I'm sorry.
So when I started working for Lead SM, I learned that the hard way. So now you'll hardly see me post a picture with me with a drink in my hand. If we're doing a photo, I put the drink down. It's only like celebrations, especially when I'm cheersing, but it's never like drinking, and I make sure that those photos don't get taken because that's not the personal or business persona I want to put out there. You got to be so careful and think of it. And when you post it, you got to go, could this come back to bite me? Whether it's on your personal stuff or in your work stuff. And let me tell you another thing that happened to me on a brand, and I won't go into which brand it is. How quickly a mistake can happen. We know we live in South Africa, we know racial slurs are rife, it happens all the time. And someone on my timeline was talking about some racist thing. It was the most ridiculous comments I've ever heard. And it was actually aimed at something that was anti-racism, and this person obviously turned it around. I retweeted it, and all I said was, there's always one. Not realizing that I was still logged into the brand's profile. Okay.
Snap. Oh.
Yeah. it did not end well. But luckily, there was only one person who picked up on it. Luckily, they didn't screenshot it, and I deleted it. But I had to do an entire report. I had to monitor social for like 3 hours. We had to prepare like a statement. It was.
Did your heart just drop?
I did. It did. But luckily, I hadn't said anything
Too inflammatory.
like. All I said was, "There's always one." Like it's always one person that has to turn it around into a racial war. That's all I said. There's always one. Thank goodness. That's all I said. But let me tell you, I have not gotten into one racial debate again after that in my life. After that, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't rag brands unless I've like been hounding them for weeks. And then I'm always very polite about it on social media because I know that sometimes the social media team is not the brand team. Customer care doesn't always sit there. So you've got to be very, very careful about what you put on there. The perception of your persona on social media sticks. And we're going to get into Justine's brand now, and I don't think Justine will ever work in the PR industry again in her life. And the reason for that is because people do Google you. Content on the internet is long lasting. If you go onto Google, you can find anything. Have you guys ever Googled yourselves?
Yeah.
And what comes up?
A few years ago, you know that Pledge Rage?
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago, I ran the event, and I had to do all the PR, and it was always according to Jen. And a few years before that, I had slated F&B on social media because they were having issues with my account. And I googled myself, and those two came up next to each other. And this was phone Jen. She's like, she'll look after your kiddies, and she's done a production so nicely. And then this one was like, screw you, F&B. Shit.
And you can't remove that.
I couldn't remember this.
The only way you're going to remove that is by doing something amazing and getting it down the timeline. That's the only way. Anyone else Googled themselves? What came up?
An old article I'd written for JHB Live, like forever, a small, simple, old article. Out of all the things I've done in my life, that was one of the most
It's funny, hey?
insignificant.
It's funny what comes up. The stuff that you would like to push down is always the stuff that's higher ranked. Sue?
Some like random article that somebody else was like, thanks for the support when he was climbing Everest when I was like 12. And yeah, and UCT's philosophy department because they list like whoever's in the department on Facebook, and I was like, I haven't still found it.
You haven't Googled yourself. Have you got your phone on you? Google yourself. See what comes up. Josie?
I don't do anything.
All music stuff, I'm sure.
All stuff at Universal.
That's not bad. It's not a bad brand portfolio to have. You're one of the lucky ones.
For now.
For now. Shay?
I haven't actually done it in the last few
Just
minutes.
really every social media account of mine, like I have to go down so low to find anything of mine, my old blog, stuff like that. But yeah, the first 2 pages are just all my social media handles, which is kind of funny.
Pictures and everything.
It's very interesting. So if you were ever on a video, ever in any photos, yeah, it'll be on the interwebs. Okay. Content is everlasting. 12 years old, supporting someone in Everest. It's still on the Google machine. Shoot me now, right? Luckily, it's not something bad. Okay, now we're going to go into why the brand, your personal brand, is so important. And Josie's already told us who we're going to be talking about. Justine Sacco. So, do you guys know who Justine is? Justine. Shay, do you know who Justine is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Justine Sacco was a PR, she worked for a PR company, and her bio was all about like PR, and I'm a troublemaker on the side, and she only had, at the time that this happened, about 140 followers on Twitter.
South African by
Yeah, she's born South African, and she was living, I think, in America somewhere, hey?
Yeah.
And she was making her way home, so she was doing stopovers
December.
over holidays to come visit the family. And she stopped off at her first destination, and her first tweet was this.
Heathrow.
Weird German dude, not even. This was before she
This
was
was
got
before
to
Heathrow.
Heathrow. Weird German dude, you're in first class, it's 2014, get some deodorants, in a monologue as I inhale BO. Thank God for pharmaceuticals. Okay. She was just talking about a random person on the flight.
No
Okay.
reaction.
No reaction. No one tweets her, no one responds. She gets to Heathrow and she writes, chili cucumber sandwiches, bad teeth, back in London. Taking a dig at London again. Alright? No one retweets it, no one responds to her. She doesn't see the potential danger coming her way. On the 20th of December, before climbing onto a plane to descend to Cape Town on an 11-hour flight, no in-flight Wi-Fi, Justine tweets the following. Going to Africa, I hope I don't get AIDS.
Oh my
Just
God.
kidding, I'm white.
I saw that post. Now I know who she is.
Oh my.
Oh my
How
god.
could you say that?
But she didn't think.
Yo.
And the worst part is that her family actually were involved in anti-racism in South Africa. Like, her family has a huge history of fighting racism. She didn't think.
What did she do?
She was PR. She was a PR agent, which is even worse.
So which means you should know what not to do.
Exactly.
I think her explanation of it, when the author that interviewed her asked her about it afterwards, he asked her, what was the tweet about?
Mm.
Her response was, and I'm not quite quoting, but her response was, America lives in a bubble
Yeah.
and they don't know about the third world. And her tweet was making fun of that bubble.
Yeah. So she was
wasn't
actually
being
saying,
racist.
she was actually trying to say that people are so close-minded that they think that by visiting a country that has AIDS, you can get AIDS.
So she was saying it in a sarcastic manner, but it was
Yes.
taken as her saying it like that's
Well,
what
if
she
you
actually
read
is, 'cause
this-
absolutely.
If you read this
That's
with
not
no
what-
context before it,
No.
that's exactly how I saw it.
And with the previous ripping off tweets to boot.
Exactly. So, I mean, by this stage that the screenshot was taken, she was already on 213 followers, and I think this was 4 hours. 4 hours after her tweet had gone out, she'd already gone up by 70, 80 followers, as people were starting to retweet the content. Okay, it gets worse.
And she can't fix it because she's on fire for 11 hours.
She had no idea.
She only had 170, I think 140, 170. I'm quoting, I might be
I think
misquoting.
it was 140 from the start.
So, like, what's the harm? How many followers do you have on Twitter? You don't know because you haven't used your
I
Twitter.
haven't used it in a long time, but I don't know, I think about 80 or something.
I don't know. Like over 100.
About over 1,000.
About 2.
Okay. 2. Just takes one person to retweet one tweet. And if they've got a following of 8,000 people, 8,000 potential eyes are going to see the tweet. Shay, how many followers do you have?
Number 2,000.
Okay. So,
But also, if you have, I mean, if it is retweeted, it kind of adds to the hype. Like if you just tweet something, it's not that big of a deal.
I don't know, but that's what
retweeting is like.
but that's what social media is about.
Yeah.
It's about the hype.
Getting someone else to approve it.
It's all about the hype. And that's the danger of a retweet.
Mm.
You might think your community is tiny. I'm following you. I
I
have.
have 124.
I'm following you. I have, I think, 4,200 or something. Okay? I retweet you. It's not just your community of 120. I have people who have huge followings on my timeline. So I have one person who has 120,000 followers. She just needs to retweet that tweet once. And it's a snowball. That tweet was retweeted over 3,000 times. Media houses got wind of it.
Oh.
Obviously, because I also have a lot of journalists on my timeline. Just takes one of them to see it and go, here's a story here. Okay, gets worse. Has Justine landed yet? So they created a hashtag.
Oh my
I do
god.
remember that.
They created a hashtag on when is she landing, because they knew that she'd boarded. By this time, the company put out a statement saying the employee in question's on international flight. We have not been able to make contact with her. Justine has no idea what's going on.
So much can go wrong.
People went to Cape Town International Airport to wait for her to arrive.
And she had no
People
idea.
were tweeting and saying, can somebody please go to Cape Town International to take a photo of her as she arrives? We want to see her face when she lands.
Oh my god.
So that it went from being like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? To
Bullying.
Getting involved.
it got really dark. It got really horrible. The language that was being used, like people were calling her the C word. People were calling her a
Yeah, I
racist
didn't
bitch.
actually even take.
Oh,
I didn't take
literally-
screenshots of because she
horrible.
got lambasted. I mean, Ford got lambasted. Let me tell you, Justine got personally attacked.